Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 for the GameCube is a whole lot like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 for the PlayStation 2. As such, this review is going to focus on the differences between the two versions, but one thing you have to know up front is that the GameCube version of Tony Hawk 3 faithfully duplicates many of the great gameplay elements of the PlayStation 2 version and manages to be a fantastic game. That said, there are quite a few differences between the two versions that some may affect you. You know, if you're a multi-console owner, you know, you're wondering which version of the game you should get. These are the kind of things you're going to want to know going in. The GameCube version of the game definitely has a much smoother look than the PlayStation 2 version, at least when it's not moving. The game is not quite as aliased or jaggy as the PlayStation 2 release was, so some of the edges, while they still can get a little jaggy from time to time, look a little bit smoother. The whole game kind of actually has a softer, slightly more fuzzed out look to it to kind of mask that sort of stuff. But that graphical shine does come at a cost. The frame rate in the game really isn't very stable, particularly some of the levels like Skater Island, Tokyo, Los Angeles. Certain parts of these levels really chug quite a bit. The frame rate drops out enough to actually affect the gameplay, which, you know, as you're familiar with the series at all, you know, it's a very timing-based game, and when the frame rate drops the way it does in this game, it can definitely interfere with your timing. Frame rate, which is a problem in one player, is even more of a problem in two-player, particularly if you're using the horizontal split screen. The vertical split screen definitely looks a little bit better than horizontal. Of course, since the GameCube has no way of getting online, the online features from the PlayStation 2 have also been cut. The GameCube controller can be an issue if you're familiar with the PlayStation 2 version and the way the series has controlled over the years. You might have a little bit of trouble picking this one up right off the bat. The button configuration is functional and definitely works. The D-pad, I found it to be a little too small for my thumb and had trouble doing moves for a few hours, but that was something that eventually came with time. Probably the biggest controller issue, I should say, is that the game uses the squishy analog R trigger for the revert. And for such a move that requires really precise timing, having a big analog trigger really isn't the optimal way to handle it. It would have been nice if you could remap the buttons so that you could put the revert on the Z button, which is right next to the R trigger, but you can't remap the buttons at all, so you're pretty much stuck with the configuration they give you.
Watch out! Holy!
So if you're looking for one version or the other, the PlayStation 2 version is probably the way to go. But, you know, having said all that and kind of, you know, been kind of down on the game, it's still Tony Hawk 3. The levels are huge, the goals are very exciting, the tutorial mode definitely balances the game, and it's a blast to play on any system, really. So it's definitely one of the GameCube's best launch games. But if you're comparing it to the previously released PlayStation 2 version, it really doesn't stand up quite so well.